I just had a lot of fuel.
Yeah.
I hate the back. Why am I in the back?
No. Pazi na očare. My ass is so much bumful. I know. Well, alright, that's it. You didn't get wet, did you see? You would think I'm kidding. No, we're going to get wet again. You think I'm kidding.
Oh, no. It's going to hit me straight back. The one at Universal like this, you get so like vehicle. Yeah. So we did this one wait, and I was like, yeah. It's just a joke. That's it. All right, get the fast, let's go.
Oh, I hope you see where I'm going to go.
Part of the reason why they're related is because of their tongues. Both okapi and giraffe have prehensile tongues. That means they can use them as an extension of their face to grab any leaves or branches that are otherwise just out of reach. And normally those okapi are pretty shy. In fact, they were so shy that for several centuries they were thought to be nothing more than mythical creatures, right up until their official discovery in 1901. Now look up here to our left-hand side, all over the top of the hill. You'll see him, he's got his back to us, but there is a black rhino up there. He almost looks like a rock himself. Or maybe another one around here, but keep an eye out. We're lucky to even glimpse one black rhino though, because unfortunately there are only 5,000 of them left in the entire world. And that is mostly due to poaching. Now poachers tend to go after the rhino's horns. They are made out of keratin, which is the same substance that makes up our own fingernails and our hair. So they're not really valuable per se, but part of the reason why they are so sought after and fetch such a high price on the black market is because there are some cultures out there that believe that they hold some sort of medicinal value, though so far modern medicine has not been able to come up with anything to prove that just yet. Now look up here to our left-hand side, all the way up at the top of the hill. Those bright orange antelope are bongos. They're some of my favorite animals here on the reserve because they have a great name and an even better nickname. They are called the ghosts of the forest due to their shy and reclusive natures. Also to the left, you're going to see those deer-like antelope back in the bushes. Those are greater kudu. Only males have horns, so it looks like those are female kudu. Now eventually the road should be taking us down to the savannah. Before we get there though, we are going to try another watering hole around the corner. It's called the Safi River. And we usually do have some pretty good luck around watering holes, as a lot of animal species do tend to hang out around them during the day so they can stay hydrated and cool themselves off. I don't see anything around this part of the river though. Let's go a bit further upriver, see what we can find. Oh yeah, look out to our left-hand side, right behind the island. There's a whole float of
I don't need it, because I can't take pictures and videos. Sure, just use come closer, right?
Now also out to our left-hand side on that island, you'll see those big white birds. Those are pink-backed pelicans. During mating season, it does appear as if the feathers on their backs turn pink, but it's not their feathers, it's actually the skin underneath their feathers that will. You may get one more glimpse of those hippos as we go too. Now usually for the hippos, it is all about timing. They can hold their breath for about 8 minutes, and rather than swim, they do prefer to walk along the bottom of the riverbed. You're gonna want to keep your eyes down to our left. Just past these waterfalls, I can see them, you're about to. There are some Nile crocodiles down below. Now if y'all ever see any crocs with their mouths open, they are trying to cool themselves off, but I would be very, very careful. Their jaws can snap shut with about 2,000 pounds per square inch of pressure behind them. That is coincidentally just hard enough to crush bone. So we're gonna go ahead and get off this bridge and get on out of here. Now I will say though, even though the crocodiles have that bone-crushing power, they really only use it about once a week. That's as often as they need to eat, but they can go for several months without eating anything at all, which is a little surprising. They can live to be about 40 years old in the wild after all.
Because they don't eat.
Looks like though we are finally headed down to the savannah. Now this is more of the grassland area of the reserve. It's home to some of the more famous animals usually found out here, like giraffes and elephants, and maybe a predator or two if we get lucky. I think I can see some antelope though hanging out in the tall grass. Let's come around. Yeah, look down on the tall grass right underneath this hill here. You'll see that tiny, tiny tan antelope in there. That's called a springbok. Now he's not a baby, he's actually fully grown. About 3 to 4 feet tall, is as big as the springbok are ever gonna get, but they are very athletic. They can actually jump 6 to 8 feet into the air from a standing position. That's called pronking. They'll do it when they're scared to get away from any predators that may be around. As we come down the hill a little bit more, look over your left-hand shoulder. There's a few more animals out there. Looks like there are some giraffes. And those cattle with the big horns are called Ankole cattle. Now the Ankole cattle are also called called Watusi cattle, after the Watusi tribe, which originally domesticated them. Their horns can get pretty large, about 3 to 4 feet in length is the average, and between the tips on some, they can be 6 feet across. So up close, they are massive. And you'd think they'd be kind of heavy, but they are somewhat hollow on the inside, and they'll actually act as a cooling system. So blood will circulate up through the tops of their horns, it'll cool off, and then flow back down into their bodies. And that keeps them nice and cool in the hot African sun out here. I think there's a few more Ankole cattle hanging out on the other side of the road there, as well as those giraffes too. We're gonna come around and try to get a good look at them. But also to our right, you're gonna see the gray animals a little bit further along. Those are white-bearded wildebeest. That does look like a little bit of a smaller herd of wildebeest though. They do have one of the largest animal migrations in the world. About 1.5 million of them will migrate across the savannah each and every year. Now they are named after an Afrikaans word that quite literally means wild beast, because up close they do look a little scary. You may have also heard of an animal called gnu before, spelled G-N-U. The G is silent. Gnu and wildebeest, they are the same animal. Gnu comes from the low grunting noise that wildebeest will sometimes make. Now take a break from the right. Look out to our left-hand side. They're laying right in the shade of these 2 trees in the middle of the grass there. There are some African wild dogs. They're also called painted dogs too. And they are pretty cute and cuddly looking, but I don't suggest trying to take one home as a pet. They are one of the most successful hunters out here in Africa. They have about an 80 to 90% success rate on their hunts. It's not because they're particularly fast or strong, they're just very persistent. They'll pretty much follow their prey around until it just kind of gives up. Now off the trail left, you'll get a few more springbok out here. Past those springbok though, are those dark antelope sitting in the shade. Those are called sable antelope. And they may look familiar to you. They're actually the emblems of our reserve. The darker the coat on the sable, the more dominant and mature they tend to be. So if you see a really dark one, that's probably the dominant male of that herd. And on either side of us, here come those wildebeest. You get a real up close look at them now.
Wildebeest, baby.
And I think we're in luck. Looks like most of the giraffes are hanging out right by those trees up ahead. So we're going to come around here and get a real good look at them. I'll make a quick stop up there for you. They're just far enough away we can do that. Now these are all Maasai giraffes. You can tell the difference between species by looking at their coat patterns. Maasai do tend to have a little bit more of a messier or erratic coat pattern than most other giraffe species do. So a few more giraffes coming up here on our right if you didn't get a good look at them on the left. It looks like some of them are eating, so you're going to want to watch their mouths. You may get to see their tongues poke out every once in a while. Remember I mentioned their tongues before when we were looking at their cousins, the okapi. They are prehensile. They're also about 18 to 20 inches long. And they're dark purple to help keep them from getting sunburned, because giraffes do spend most of their day eating. And some of the giraffes on our left, they are a little small. Judging by their size, they're probably just under a year old, so I think it's pretty safe to say that we are looking at some baby giraffes. Now when the babies are first born, they're usually about 150 pounds and already 6 feet tall, which is a good thing. They've got about a 6-foot drop to the ground. Giraffes do spend most of their time standing up. That includes giving birth, as well as sleeping too. And they only sleep for about 30 minutes a night. Now, it looks like the rest of the savannah seems a little quiet, so we're going to keep on moving. I think we might be entering into elephant territory, actually. If you look up ahead of us, there is a pushed-over tree. We're going to go past it on the right. That's usually a good sign that there may be some elephants in the area. They do often push over trees. It's actually a good thing. It makes way for new grasses to grow, so it helps to feed a lot of the animals considered to be grazers. So that's going to be animals like the Ankole cattle and the wildebeest that we saw out here. So they are pretty hard to miss, but I don't see one just yet. We'll come around, try to look behind the bushes, see if we can maybe catch up with a few elephants. Now if we do see any elephants, oh yeah, look up to our right hand side, all the way up there. We're gonna come around a little bit more. I might know a good spot where he's at. And I want to take a peek behind the bushes. He's the only one I see so far. So there's a few more around here. Oh, I can't get too much closer though. It looks like the road I usually take is closed. But there he is one more time. And I don't see any other elephants around here, so I think it's pretty safe to say that that guy is most likely a male or bull African elephant because he's all by himself. They do have very human-like lifespans, but elephants are mostly matriarchal. So at about 14 years old, the males will leave the herd and they tend to go off on their own. Though every once in a while, they do sometimes form bachelor herds. And normally, if there's a male or two around, there are probably some females around as well. So since he's here, and look to our right, there he is one more time. I can't stop on the bridge. I'm gonna go real slow though to give you guys a chance to get a good look at him. Yeah, since he's here, there is a good chance there may be a few more elephants around. So we're gonna try to go a bit further into elephant territory. I'll have to take this slight detour across the bridge, but it looks like it should bring us back around to the right. And we'll follow this river on our left-hand side, see if we can hit some watering holes along the way too. And it does look like we're on the right track. You're going to want to look down on either side of the truck. Here in the red clay pits, there are some tusk marks, as well as some elephant tracks down there too. That's usually a good sign that they've been through here not too long ago. Look out to our left. I can see a couple. There's a few more, looks like, off in the distance too. So we're going to come around and try to get a good look at the herd as well. But elephants do often eat red clay though for the minerals and nutrients found in the soil. It's just like us taking vitamins during the day. Oh yeah, look way up ahead of us. There's quite a few all hanging out all together. Now you may notice too that some of these elephants are going to be flapping their ears. That is to help cool themselves off. Elephants have blood vessels located right at the base of their ears. So if they flap their ears, it's going to cool off those blood vessels and in turn cool off the rest of their bodies too. Let's see, they're all kind of hanging out right in a little clump here to our left. But I saw a few more up ahead down by the water as well. While we're here though, take a good look at their ears. That is how you can tell the difference between elephant species is by their ears. African elephants in particular are really easy to tell apart because their ears are in the shape of the continent of Africa. We're going to get rid of some of this tall grass. Oh, and look, she just walked out from that group. There is a baby elephant over there as well. Let's see if we can follow her a little bit.
Where's the baby elephant?
Take a picture of the baby elephant.
Now, judging by that baby's size, she's probably just under a year old. That means she weighs relatively 800 pounds right now. When baby elephants are first born, though, they already weigh 300 pounds on average, which makes sense because elephants do have a gestation period of about 22 months. So they are pregnant for just under 2 years. Yeah, there are a few more elephants hanging out down by the water here too. Now you may notice that baby's throwing dirt on her though. That is normal. Elephants will actually cover themselves in mud and dirt to protect their skin from the sun. It does act as a natural sunscreen for them. A few more elephants down on our left here. And then we're going to come around the corner. It looks like she's coming along with us. There's also some pink birds up here on the island. These are greater flamingos. They're the lightest colored of all the flamingo species. And they're not naturally pink. They will start off as gray. Eventually, their diet of shrimp and brine is what's going to turn their feathers that nice pink color. You're going to get a look at that elephant. She is following us along here on our left. Now, one thing that's really cool that we've actually learned about elephants is that out of all the animals they could have chosen to be scared of, they picked bumblebees. It's true. And it's a good thing that we know this because there were some farmers out here in Africa that were starting to put their crops into elephant territory. So the elephants were unintentionally trampling over those crops, and the farmers started using some pretty harmful methods to keep the elephants at bay. Well, we wanted to find a better solution, something that was a bit more peaceful. So we did some research and actually discovered that elephants would avoid patches of trees that had beehives in them. Pretty sure they don't like the buzzing noise that the bees make. So we built fences around the farmer's land, put beehives spread out along those fences, and it actually worked. The elephants stayed away, and the farmers got a new crop to harvest and sell, which was the bees' honey. Now look out here to our left, there's a whole crash of rhinos over here. You may notice some of them are sitting in some mud pits, just like elephants. Rhinos also cover themselves in mud and dirt to protect their skin from the sun. It also helps to protect them from any parasites that may be around as well. Now we're going to come around and get a good look at them, but we want to try not to startle them because they can't see very well. Only clearly just a few feet in front of their faces. Everything else is just a real big blur. I think now, like I said, a good time to mention that a group of rhinos is crash for a good reason. They can charge at about 35 miles an hour. Like I said, we're going to try not to startle them. Luckily for us though, these are white rhinos. They tend to be a bit more social, so also a little bit more docile than most other rhino species. While we're here, take a good look at their mouths. You'll see how wide they are. That is how you can tell them apart from other species of rhinos. So back in the forest, we saw that black rhino. He's got a really triangularly shaped mouth. That helps him get at the leaves and the bushes a little bit easier. The white rhinos, though, are grazers. They live out here on the grasslands. They've got a really wide mouth. In fact, originally they were called white rhinos. That's spelled W-I-T, but it is pronounced with a V. Look over your left-hand shoulder, way back there past the rocks. You may be able to see her. She's a little difficult to see, though. There is a cheetah over there in the shade. She's laying down right where the tree line is. Looks like a long tan log. There may be a few more around here too, so keep an eye out. They often live in small groups called coalitions, and they blend in really well, as you guys can see. It is that spotted coat pattern of theirs. They typically don't need it though. Cheetahs are the fastest land mammal in the world. They go about 60 miles an hour in only a few seconds, but just for a couple hundred yards. They are kind of like the short distance sprinters of the savannah, but they are built for speed. They've got those long, lean bodies, and their tails too. They are going to use their tails as a type of rudder to help them move when they run. So they can very easily change direction and follow their prey around if they need to. And I'm actually a little surprised the cheetahs aren't hanging out on this copy on our left-hand side. They are considered to be diurnal, which means they do hunt predominantly during the day, as opposed to most other large cats, which are usually nocturnal. And a lot of large cats do like to use these copies as a type of lookout post to scan the savannah for any prey that may be around, because it does give them a pretty good vantage point. Yeah, okay, so look on the end of the copy. I think I know why the cheetahs aren't here. Where that grass is, he looks like a rock himself. We can see part of his mane peeking up. That is a male lion laying right up there. We're going to come around and try to get a good look at him. He might disappear behind this rock, though. If you hold your cameras up above your head, you may be able to get a better glimpse at him. Oh, and there's a lioness, it looks like, laying right under the rocks there.
Right there, straight ahead.
That is pretty neat to see. But lions are inactive for about 16 to 20 hours during the day. Usually nighttime is when they're most active. At night, it will be the lionesses that go out and hunt, while the male lions will hang back and they're going to protect the pride, particularly their own territory, and especially if there's any cubs around too. Now look on our left-hand side, all the way across the clearing from us. She's laying down in the sunlight. There's a warthog over there. You can see some of her burrows along the hillside here too. Warthogs are the largest burrowing mammal. They'll actually reuse other animal burrows to hide from any predators that may be around. On our right-hand side, those brown antelope are called bantebak. If the sun hits them just right, they will turn a somewhat purplish color, so keep an eye out for that. I'm going to pull forward a little bit more, because also down to our right, there's a small nest of ostrich eggs down below. So those eggs are usually pretty discernible because of their size. Each one weighs the equivalent of 24 chicken eggs. And if a fully grown human coming into the last area of our safari today. Now this is called the Magadi Glen. This area was actually made possible because of our reserve's partnership with the Disney Conservation Fund. Our reserve does partner with several organizations to help protect animal species here in Africa and some around the world as well. It looks like there are quite a few animals out here. Look up to our left-hand side. Those antelope up at the top of the hill are called scimitar horned oryx. Now they are named after the Middle Eastern sword, the scimitar, because of the similar way that their horns curve. On our right-hand side, the big white birds with yellow bills are yellow-billed stork. I like to mention them because they're carnivorous. They will put just about anything they can fit into those beaks of theirs, including other smaller birds. We're pretty fortunate we got to see the oryx today, not just because they normally live in very desert, arid type of climates, but also because they are considered to be extinct in the wild. Pretty much the only place you can find them is going to be on reserves just like ours. Now that is in part due to poaching, but it is also due to a much larger problem that's affecting not just the animals already endangered, so animals like the rhinos and oryx are poached for their horns, and the elephants too, they're poached for their ivory tusks. Every day, 96 elephants are lost to poaching. Every day, 96 of them. But we were lucky to even see animals like the giraffes or the Ankole cattle and the lions too. If they live on the savannah, they are all going to be threatened due to habitat loss. It is a huge problem out here in Africa. More specifically, there is mining going on for an ore called coltan, which is used in a lot of electronic devices. So the way you can help out with that though is if you have a cell phone, smartphone, camera, rechargeable battery, laptop, computer, game system, TV, anything like that, if you ever go to upgrade to something new, please consider recycling or donating your old electronics. Not only could it possibly help out a fellow human being, but it may also help out some of the animals that we've seen out here too.